When you hear the word frugal, probably the first thing that comes to your mind is cheap. But what if we told you that being frugal could actually make you rich? Would you believe us? Well, you should, because it's true. In the book, The Millionaire Next Door, they actually bust the myth that millionaires live lavish lifestyles, and they actually point out that one of the most common traits that the rich share is that they are frugal.
55% of the millionaires polled for The Millionaire Next Door attributed their wealth to deliberate practices with their finances and disciplined savings. Hi, I'm Nadia.
And I'm Nicole, and we're the Well Twins. And today we're going to share how you can become rich by living frugal with 5 easy steps.
Step 1, be intentional with your money. Understand that being frugal and also being rich does not happen by accident. Well, at least not most of the time, okay? In order to be a frugal person or to become rich, you have to make that decision. And the decision is to be intentional about how you use your money. To be intentional on how you use your money, a plan is first needed on how not only to spend your money, but also to save that money and what to do with those savings. Frugality is a way to become rich because a frugal mentality will help you shift your mindset from just being a consumer to also having a mindset based on value and minimalism. Most frugal people are minimalists because as you start being more intentional with your money, it's a lot easier to stop buying things that you don't necessarily need, and that will lead to less decisions about what you need to do with your money. At the same time, this helps to simplify your life.
Minimalism is really not about being cheap or cheating yourself out of pleasure. It's actually about lowering your temptation to impulse buying and unnecessary spending. When you begin to practice minimalism with your money, you actually start buying things for the value you find in them and not just for the sake of accumulation. Case in point, how many times have you looked at your credit card bill, wondered why it's so high because you can't even remember what you bought? If you are intentional with your money and practice minimalism, you will not have that problem. You will know exactly what you bought and for what reason you used your money for it. Becoming more aware of your purchases is one part in the next step of how to become rich by living frugal. What gets measured gets monitored. Remember that. So ask yourself a couple of questions. Are you in debt? Are you able to cover your bills if you were laid off? What about an unexpected expense? Can you cover that? All of these things are basically unknown until you make an effort to focus on your personal finances. Focusing on your personal finances will let you know what direction you're actually going in and will quickly show you if you're living within your means or if you actually need a budget to get serious about becoming rich. Now, if after analyzing your personal finances and you find out that you are in a lot of debt and you need to make some changes, don't worry. There are a few frugal rules you can follow that can help you get out of that situation.
For the biggest immediate impact, the number one frugal rule to follow is finding ways that you can lower your spending while you can save more. Now, one of the reasons is because it doesn't matter how much money you make. So let's say you're making $1 million. If you spend $999,999, it doesn't matter that you make $1 million. Your goal is to save your money and do what you can do to the best of your ability with the money that you do have. One way to do this is by learning how to cook high-quality meals at home. This is a money-saving tip that we both used in our past, and it still helps us now. Did you know on Grubhub, the number one food item that was ordered was a burrito? Now, let's say on the low end, a burrito is about $7, right? On top of that $7, Grubhub charges a delivery fee of $2 to $8. And then they also charge a service fee of 5% to 10%. Now, let's say we're using the lowest end of these numbers. You can end up paying 35% more for that $7 burrito. Now, it may not sound like much, but Benjamin Franklin said, it only takes a small hole to sink a big ship. One of our students sat down and went through her spending habits and realized she was not only spending money eating out, but she was also spending money on grocery shopping to the tune of $2,000. We also learned this lesson the hard way too, because one point I was spending $1,000 or more a month on eating out. And I sat down and looked at my finances and said, okay, this has to change. That one thing of looking at my finances and cutting out the amount of times that I was eating out allowed me to develop a frugal habit of saving more of my money and being more intentional with that money, and allowed us both to start investing in the stock market, pay our credit card debt, our student loans, and be able to build an emergency fund at the same time. If you want to give frugal living a test run, try cooking at home 2 days a week. You can make quick dishes, and then you can see how much money you're saving. If you like it, move it up to 3 days a week. This will help you make frugal living more of a habit that you can keep for the long term and make it easier to follow and stick to.
You know, one of the things that's great about savings is that you no longer worry if you're able to pay your bills or not. Instead, you can focus on how are you going to grow the money that you actually have saved. You know, when Nadia and I actually felt comfortable with the amount of money that we have saved, we started investing in the stock market on a consistent basis and used dollar cost averaging to buy some high quality stocks, ETFs, and index funds that paid us passive income through dividends. Now, if you don't know, dividends are payments you get just by holding the security. If you open a brokerage account from companies like Charles Schwab, Fidelity, or Vanguard, and you invest on a consistent basis and use dollar cost averaging and have the mindset to invest on a long-term basis, you have the potential with the money you make in passive income to actually live off your investments and become financially independent. If you're interested in learning more about income investing and want to know how you can start, check the links in the description below.
If you don't want to put the money you saved into the stock market, but you want to be able to use the money you saved to become rich, one way is to buy a multifamily property that you can afford on one income and then be able to house hack in at the same time. House hacking is when you live in one part of the property and rent out the spaces that you aren't using. Both Nicole and I used house hacking in order to lower our mortgages and lower our living expenses. Now, I know most of you know your living expense can take up most of your paycheck. So if you can find a way to keep that low, then you're already on your way to becoming rich. The goal of buying a property is to become wealthy, not to be house rich and cash poor. If you use frugal living habits as a guide when you're buying real estate, you will set yourself up for success and optimize your money for the long term.
Now, if you haven't read the book, Millionaire Next Door, I'm sorry, but I'm going to spoil something for you. Most of the millionaires in that book actually became millionaires by starting a small business. Now, I know many people are scared to start a small business because they know the stats. 1 in 5 businesses actually fail within the first year, and the odds of survival actually get worse from there. However, if you look deeper into the numbers, you will actually see that the main cause for failure is actually money problems. In fact, score.org actually stated that 82% of small business failures is due to cash flow problems.
I started a small, profitable business in NYC, and I can't tell you how many times I saw new businesses open and close, especially in trendy neighborhoods. One of the ways I was able to be successful and have longevity was because of my frugal skills when it came to managing my money. I was able to take the frugal living habits I had and transfer them over into my business finances and made sure I didn't get over my head financially. If you're able to take your frugal living habits from your personal finances and transfer them over to your small business, you will avoid the number one pitfall that most businesses face when it comes to keeping their doors open. You will also be able to give yourself the opportunity to take advantage of the number one way most millionaires are made.
Our wish for you is that you become rich by practicing frugal living. See you in the next video.